What is good, everybody? Our boy Eric July has finally decided to drop a teaser for the upcoming ISOM 3, the conclusion to the ill-advised arc. If you guys are unfamiliar with Eric July, he is a somewhat of a controversial figure in the entertainment space.
Course God, what do you mean by pull up if you aren't talking about exchanging blows? Okay.
According to him, he's been on YouTube for about 10 to 16 years, somewhere around that range. He does pretty much like reviews going over the wokeness in modern media.
Damn level 1 rookie, childish kindergarten ass bitch made argument that you throw out there is what about the roads? Fuck them hoe ass roads.
Primarily, he was covering comic books and anything pertaining to superheroes, video games. He was streaming. If you guys are familiar with Nerdrotic, Heel versus Babyface, The Critical Drinker, That Star Wars Girl, you know, all those guys, that's who Eric kind of associates with. And Eric was kind of tired and fed up with the modern mainstream comic books and entertainment, and he decided that he was going to be a solution to the problem. And his solution was starting his own comic company, a full-fledged comic company, not just something he was like going to just do here and there. This is something that he's legitimately doing. And for 2 years prior to the launch, it was really exciting, you know, and I really wanted to support Eric. And Eric was honestly the inspiration for why I started creating my comic series as well. And then finally, somewhere around like June 2021, 22, somewhere around that area, he gave us ISOM, a generic, black, and underwhelming alleged superhero. I haven't necessarily read ISOM or any of Eric's books, but I've watched a lot of reviews on them. The ones that I trust, and you know, they actually like read the comic and go over it and take exhaustive notes. And pretty much everything that Eric does is just terrible. ISOM 1 and 2 was horrendous, and those are the ones that Eric July wrote. And according to him, he's a brand new writer. He doesn't consume media, so one must wonder, where does he get his inspiration from? Right? He can't take criticism. After the launch of ISOM 1, he's got a lot of feedback and criticism from legitimate creators and people, and just overall from the audience. And Eric decided to reject it all and went on with ISOM 2. And ISOM 2 was even worse than ISOM 1, if you can believe it. Every single character that Eric comes up with, or his team or that, is horrendous. The writing is horrible. If there is a story, it is non-existent to everyone with eyes. ISOM was supposed to be Eric's, you know, flagship foundational character for his universe. If you even like just see panels of like ISOM or Yaira or Alpha Core, you kind of just get like these random panels of like characters that you wouldn't think were like important, and then all out of nowhere he's like, oh, by the way, you know, Alpha Core is getting their own book, Yaira's getting her own book, Gooding, however you say his name. Eric also too has like these horrible names for superheroes, and again, we don't even know if they're superheroes because Eric doesn't really make that clear in his story. So, you know, it's just a lot. But for 2 years though, right, people have been asking, because of the events of ISOM 1 and 2, where does this go? Because in ISOM 1, ISOM, you know, kind of comes out of being a superhero. He owns and works on a farm now or something like that. I'm guessing he's rich, and he gets a call from his sister, Altona, I believe her name is, about some kid that went missing. And the only reason why ISOM even goes to investigate because his sister mentions some lady from church, and ISOM goes to investigate this little girl. They go to some kind of club. He meets with his arch nemesis, some drug dealing gangster named Darren Fontano. They have a little bit of a fight, a little bit of a brawl. It's unclear if ISOM has superpowers. It's unclear if he can fly. It's unclear if he has strength. It's unclear if he is necessarily super, because the book doesn't tell you. Eric knows, however, but he won't tell anybody. When Eric July speaks or writes, he's not really saying much of anything. And despite what you may believe in, I don't want Eric to fail, because of the universe that he's launched is terrible. You know what I mean? He could be looking at potential failure either this year or going into the next year. He recently got canceled. Somebody he was working with pretty much cut ties with him and his company, and apparently that set him back 15 projects that was all supposed to come out this year. And that's a lot of projects. That's probably a lot of number ones that Eric was going to drop, and that is unfortunate. At the same time though, I think Eric would do much better if he focused on one main character, that being ISOM, and if he wanted to have like 2 other ongoing books like Yaira and Alpha Core, but characters like Goodjing and a character that he's got named like Cersei or Saoirse or Sasha, whatever like that, you know, just these really, really awful names. After ISOM goes to Club Merc to fight his arch nemesis Darren Fontano, he kind of just leaves and some stuff happens, and then at the end of the book he gets his costume. assume. Next book. We see how or why Isom quit being a superhero, and it is the most bizarre interaction ever. There's like some big gray alien monster thing who speaks a different language of sort. They're at some weird Comic-Con, and Isom is unable to stop this big gray alien looking guy from killing a cosplayer, which makes you think what kind of superhero was Isom. Can't fly, his strength is questionable, and I don't know if Eric is going for like some kind of like anime kind of thing where Isom and all the people in his world are kind of just super for, you know, just because for the sake of the story, or if there's a legitimate reason why these people can do the things that they can do. And even if he didn't want to explain it, it could be like an X-Men kind of thing where, you know, they're kind of just born this way. In Eric's universe, they're called Excepts, and the idea of Excepts is kind of unknown to everybody, but Eric knows, and which is very important moving forward. Okay, so I just had to go watch a review of Isom 2 because I genuinely forgot what the story was. Like all of his books, there is no story. It's just random stuff kind of happening. From what it looks like, after the cosplay chick dies, Isom quits being a superhero, and we kind of cut to his arch nemesis Darren Fontano kind of going around to these random companies that exist in the Rippaverse, Projexis, and you got this guy named Larry Shungite. Some odd reason, you know, his sister gets smacked by his arch nemesis. Oh, and then Isom for some reason links up with this chick named Bloodruth. She's like some kind of witch that she's getting her own book as well. Bloodruth is like some witch that uses like blood as like her power of sort, and Isom goes to kind of see her for some odd reason, and she has like this castle in the middle of like nowhere. Then they go down to the underworld and fight a bunch of demon monkeys. And then that's how Isom 2 ends. So again, like, you know, I'm not even trying to be funny here, right? Like there is no, Isom is the most disappointing, rather the entire Rippaverse comic project that Eric decided to launch is very underwhelming, very disappointing for many, especially the people who wanted to support Eric. And after Isom 2, I think Yaira comes out, and it's written by who Eric claims to be like some of the greatest writers known to man, which you probably never heard of them, called the Saska Sisters. They write Yaira. The artwork was a lot better. Oh yeah, let me talk about the artwork real quick. So for Isom, right, if you guys notice with all of Eric July's characters, they're all just generic. They look like people didn't even really create them. I thought Isom was maybe inspired by Invincible, by, you know, the simplicity and all that, but for those of you guys who don't know, I don't like Invincible. I don't like the comic. I don't like the show. The show's going on right now. I'm seeing and hearing even more terrible things about it. As always, I'm right. Invincible sucks, and you all will come around. When Eric first showed Isom, he looked pretty cool, right? He was drawn by an artist named Cannon White, had an afro. The way Cannon White drew him was powerful and muscular and inspiring. And then we actually opened the book. Isom is basically just a self-insert for Eric July. I mean, there's no consistency to his character whatsoever based on how he's been shown and drawn. Nobody draws him the same way twice. It's you know, either he has the afro or he has the shortcut. There's nothing identifiable with Isom at all. His symbol is also questionable. His costume is questionable. His costume doesn't even do anything or highlight any aspect about him. It's just like some generic superhero. I will say this though about Yaira. Yaira at least looks like, you know, the start to an idea, but even her, she's just not good. Alpha Core, I thought Alpha Core was supposed to be his Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman thing, but turns out though it's like General Zod and like his two acolytes. Both books were just terrible. We got Gujing, we got, I'm trying to remember these names, man. Recently we got Horseman. He's a Puerto Rican, I don't even know. Like I said, all these costumes look like they were made by AI, and then somebody kind of just like draws it and interprets them. It's just not very good. I don't think Eric understands like good comic art is. At the launch of Isom 1, Eric July launched a fan art contest, which I entered, and I feel like I should have won because there wasn't very much competition, and the one who won I did not agree with, and then the ones who got in the top 3 I most certainly did not agree with. And Eric himself said that they went through every single submission. There was like maybe like 100, maybe a little less, maybe a little more than that. And I actually went through all of them and saw like, okay, like here's where, you know, here are some that, you know, are pretty good. Here's ones where, you know, they're like just downright not really that great. And I think that I should have at least gotten top 5. And I wasn't even in the runner-up. But yeah, I mean, overall though, Eric has launched his trailer for Isom 3. The pre-launch campaign or the campaign for Isom 3 comes out on February 21st. Many of us, whether you be a Rippaverse fan or as Eric calls it, a detractor, we are all excited, very much so, to see how the ill-advised arc concludes. I don't really agree with the making fun of Eric as people do. However, though, Eric does bring it on himself because I think at the beginning, and even still kind of now, you know, people wanted to see him, you know, win and succeed, and they wanted to give him genuine advice from a good place. Eric just rejects it. I remember when Isom launched, I was excited because I really wanted to support Eric and his journey and his comic verse. I woke up that morning, you know, Eric said that, you know, his website was going to launch at like like 9 o'clock Eastern time. I set an alarm. I woke up early at like 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm waiting for the website to launch. I'm waiting to get in to buy my copy of ISOM. You know, 9 o'clock comes around. The website's late. The website's broken. I'm putting in my credit card to, you know, buy these overpriced comics. It was like 3 to 5 times that I tried to do it and it didn't work. And then next time comes around for ISOM 2, I try again to get ISOM 1 and 2, and it's the same thing, man. Everything Eric does is just ridiculous. His website sucks, and although he's changed it to where like it looks better, you still can't really navigate it. He puts his characters on a whole bunch of products that all look terrible. His posters look terrible. His characters are terrible. Eric can't write. He doesn't put any investment into learning how to write, how to make characters, or do anything in the process. He just hires more people. He recently hired this chick named Gothix.
Mark says, not sure where Eric July hate comes from. I've been in the comic scene for a long time, and I think what he's doing is great. It's because you're not a bitter elitist
who's not even into comics. She looks like some shaved head feminist. She's kind of pretty, but that doesn't really matter because she knows nothing about comics. You can't talk to Gothix about anything, and she's supposed to be a spokesperson for his company now. Eric hired the Soska sisters, who are terrible writers, and they got their own solo books now. He ordered Chuck Dixon. I don't know too much about Chuck Dixon, but I read a story by Chuck Dixon. It was Batman Spawn, and it was awful. And I think I also read a solo Batman thing with like Green Lantern, I think, and that was really bad. So I don't even think Chuck Dixon is much of a good writer. Maybe he's wrote some good things, you know, in the past. I think he's known for like Nightwing, Bane. Chuck Dixon had the opportunity though to write a character named Horseman, and Horseman sucks. I don't know, everything Eric does just sucks, and it's terrible. And I was gonna make a separate video on this, but while I'm here though, I'm gonna address this right here and now. If you guys are unfamiliar with a channel called, or a podcast called The Biggest Problem in the Universe, the two hosts are Dick Masterson and Vito. A lot of people don't seem to like Vito. I don't know why. I like Vito. He seems like a cool guy. I think me and him would probably be friends. I seen a video clip where Vito was being made fun of for trying to make a comic book, and Dick Masterson was like trying to compare him to Eric July. Now that's an insult in itself, but Dick Masterson basically was making fun of Vito because, you know, Vito explained that he was trying to, you know, get better at writing his comic. He's bought books and how-tos on letter the comic, how to draw the comic, how to be a better writer for his artists, you know, just trying to get better at the craft. Unlike Eric July, me being a new writer myself, you know how hard it is to make comics, how hard it is to make good stories and craft good stories. Dick Masterson, I think he wrote a book, but he's one of those people though that doesn't believe that comics are like forms of like media. He's one of those guys, and people like that, you cannot take them at their word because they don't know what they're talking about, because they're speaking out of ignorance. Dick Masterson was just sitting there making fun of Vito, you know, and you can see Vito, you know, wanting to kind of say something, but like, Vito, you know, is not that kind of person where, you know, he just like insults somebody for no reason. I didn't like that. Vito, if you do see this video, man, I would love to talk to you, dude, about, you know, comics and making comics or like that, you know, share some information, share knowledge, maybe even collab on something, not like comic wise, you know, kind of just talk about our series and stuff like that. I didn't like though what Dick Masterson did to you, man. Justice for Vito. With that being said, guys, right, we got the launch of ISOM 3 coming soon. Cannot wait. I'm not gonna buy it, but we're gonna talk about that when it comes out, man. Eric July, if you happen to see this video, man, dude, I don't want your comic company to fail. I think it's unfortunate that you're in the position that you are in, where you seemingly have so many people who despise you. I think it would be really good for you and your company as a whole if you really wanted to do comic books. Get books like How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, or, you know, just some kind of basic writing book of sort, just to get better at writing. Read some actual comics, watch some actual movies, watch some of your favorite movies, watch some of your favorite shows, and, you know, get a sense of how to write and what makes a strong, compelling character. Eric does not have that in any of his works, even the ones that aren't even written by him. All the other stories that come out of the Rippaverse are just almost like his AI written mess, and Eric keeps launching these books. Every last single one of them just does worse and worse and worse. I don't want someone like Eric to, you know, to fall, because if his comic company does fall, he's going to come back to a dying YouTube channel, and I don't want that to happen to Eric. So with that being said, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one, and because I forget to mention this every single video, please go ahead and check out my series titled Night of the Horizon. As always, it is linked in the description down below for free on medibang.com. I am currently working on chapter 7. Peace.